here we are. It's Monday night, and we're back to our normal evening. And thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight from, of course, stateside, overseas, South America, and wherever you're tuning in from in the show in your land. We do thank you for joining us here for Coaching Sessions Volume 9. And coming off of last week, we talked about this week with social media. Now, if you're wondering, why do I look like a clown at this point with a tie and a Tampa Bay T-shirt for Super Bowl champs and an Eagles hat? Well, because today we talk about social media. And if you look at social media in different ways, you think about acceptance. So if you see something like this, would you accept it? What would you think? If I post it up there, am I sending mixed signals by saying, are you a Bucks fan or you're an Eagles fan? Or did somewhere along the line, did you forget the rest of your suit? So as we get into more things, I'll bring up more props for you guys to think about as we get into, once again, our social media session this evening. Of course, Virginia and Jesse waiting on the other side. And then Parcetto is joining us this evening. I see his camera's a little bit on the black side here, but hopefully he'll end up coming up as soon as I bring everybody up. But listen, thank you to everyone for tuning in. And for those who can enjoy the music on the other side, it is so soothing. Because for me, as I've been doing all kinds of stuff all around, the music is so soothing. And it should touch your inner being, your inner soul, to get you into the mood that we hope to do tonight. So with that being said, we thank you. Once again, it is Monday night here in Tampa, Florida, live from the LG Direct Sales Solutions Studios. And my good friends, my lovely couple over in the Bahamas, will be joining me here on the other side. So we do thank you once again for joining us here tonight, Volume 9, as we talk about social media live on Coaching Sessions. Now, with the lovely couple being where they are there in the Bahamas, Jania and Jesse, once again, thank you for joining me this evening. And how are you guys doing?
We are thrilled to see you and thrilled to be here.
My inner being is glowing. I'm happy. We're back to Monday nights.
Your outer being is glowing
too. My inner
too.
being, my outer being, my whole being is happy to be here. Welcome everybody from stateside and worldwide. Hello from the sunny Bahamas. Well, rainy Bahamas today.
Yeah, not really sunny today.
As we hope that we do see, as we talked about just before we came on air here, that we saw that there is something brewing in the Atlantic, and we just hope it makes that curve, that big right curve. Yeah, and keep going back into the Atlantic. It's been quiet so far. We've been very fortunate. You guys in the Bahamas, of course, us here in Florida, it's been very, very fortunate so far. I think the Sahara Desert, that dust came across, and it's been holding back a lot of stuff. So I'm just hoping it stays that way. But tonight, is, as you guys can see here, with the kind of the different things that I have on here, one being a tie for kind of, if I guess if I was a businessman, but at the same time too, if I were to make a tie, I guess this short, as we talk about here on social media, would it make me look goofy? Because then you have the big fat knot, which you shouldn't have. It's probably like a 70s look. And then on top of that, if I even put it over my shoulder, would I be able to be socially accepted in this social media world that we live in today?
Well, I think you would probably distract us and we'd start to wonder why.
Or you could maybe be starting a new trend, right?
Let's hope not.
Trendsetter, your 70s over the shoulder tie could be like the next TikTok challenge.
I think just the tie with a t-shirt, I think, is a great thought.
That is a great thought.
Uncomfortable, but great thought.
But yeah, but I love that you started with that, because what is, social media? It's image and branding, and how are we showing up on social media, and are we showing up authentically? Are other people showing up authentically? I don't know. Are we simply posting our highlight reels from our life, right? And get caught in the comparison trap, or are we being real? Those are all great questions that are inspired by your interesting outfit tonight, Angel.
No, I think that's exactly what is happening. And so because we're talking about this subject, I mean, are we looking for guidance? Are we looking for solutions? I mean, how many people out there are actually truly affected day to day, moment to moment by what they're seeing, and may not necessarily realize that the conditioning that social media puts out for us that they're accepting it knowingly or unknowingly. I think it's definitely worth exploring, because
Right.
social media is literally offering, like you said, the highlight reel. Another way of looking at it is it's showing us a slice, a single story,
Right. A single moment in time.
but we convert that into, oh, that must be what that person's life is like. In fact, Angel just must be a super crazy dresser who wears something crazy all the time, simply because this one time he's got or had a big goofy tie on with a mismatching, teams from different genres. It's a question that we're all definitely posed with, although we don't know it.
And we don't know. And then the thing is, the 8 million people that will see you, Angel, on this show wearing this outfit, there'll be 8 million perspectives of why
Correct.
and who you are, right?
But
Right.
but
And
did Angel think about that
Right.
when he was putting his ensemble
Exactly.
together?
And that's the trouble we get into, because we have our own stories, and that's the only story we have, right? And we quickly, pass judgment on that story, and either you're like, wow, this dude's really cool, I love his authenticity, I really think that's cool that he's wearing a Tampa shirt and an Eagles hat and a 70s business tie. That's the kind of guy I want to have coffee with. Or someone else, might have a different.
He looks inappropriate for broadcasting.
Right. What's he thinking?
It's all
No,
possible.
It definitely is all true. It's all put together here. And I do see that our second guest here has joined the program. I finally see his screen, so I will bring him up here as well. It is El Parcero joining us live from Philly. El Parcero, thank you for joining us here tonight on Coaching Sessions. We do appreciate it. Oh, you're welcome. Listen, and this is, of course, different from when you think about coaching, right? It's more like the NFL. In case you missed it, I know you're watching and they are backstage, but we talk about as far as the life side of the house here, and so that's why I kind of threw on two different teams here. Obviously, being Tampa, the once Super Bowl champs, the same way with the Eagles, and it's because as we talk about social media, it's a social acceptance. So that also kind of leads me into something else. So if you guys remember, and Parcero, you weren't here for this one, but when I talked about Ginny and Jesse, as far as the day I went for an interview, and all I did was go home and put on my military uniform, and for some reason, instantaneously, I got the job. So what happens is I purposefully didn't shave, as Jesse picked up, that if I didn't dress appropriate for a broadcast here, but because I chose not to shave. And not only that, because I do like colors, and because if I decide to wear this, right, the water shoes I put on there just because I love colors, does then that put on social media? So is he a tough guy, or is there another layer there that we don't understand of as far as what's going on? Because I see it as either he's a scruffy dude or he's a very confused dude of what's going on. Part of
Or
that
maybe it's laundry day, and that's
There it is.
maybe laundry day. That's all he had.
that could be as well. But again, it's all the mixed signals that we see with people. And it's funny because as we talked about just last week, when we talked about judgments, and we think about it, when we see people, and we see a lot of kids today that wear like maybe a blue sneaker with a red sneaker, or, a white Croc with something else. And we're like, oh my God, it's so weird. But it's weirdly accepted today versus before. When you would look at it, it was a complete different thing. So when you post stuff on social media, and again, it's your appearance, do people then say, but just yesterday, he looked like he was just ready to, take over the world. And today he looks like just a mess. Like what's going on? So it's almost a social experiment as well when it comes to social media, because the other things that end up bringing up here too is that if I were to wear this particular shirt and I post it up on social media, most people is either he likes his country, which everybody knows I love and defend my country, and I will continue to do so. Or because of today's new society, well, now is he a socialist because he's wearing the American flag, and a lot of people don't believe in it.
Right. And the fact that you might just be making a statement, but that statement is going to be interpreted by so many different people from their own perspective. You've now just opened up the floodgates of possibilities. So it would be a great social experiment.
And I think you bring up another point. There is there's a thing like viral contagions, which, we call trends, right? Somebody wears, some crazy water shoes today. Tomorrow, maybe that's the trend on social media, and all the kids are wearing crazy water shoes and an Eagles hat. But then you have, the viral contagions of, that shirt that you just showed us, the United States shirt means this. It means you're a socialist, and then you'll have everybody in that group,
Right.
Judging you that way, like you just said, or someone like no, I was in the military, I defended my country, and I like that. But it does get very divisive, and sometimes, the way social media is run, it does influence, how we perceive
Right.
certain things, such as that American flag shirt. And I'm so glad that you brought that out, because that's a big one right now. How just an image can evoke such emotion, positively or negatively, depending how you look at it.
You could even consider that before social media, before what you just described, we did it we did the same thing. As we were walking down the street and we saw someone wearing those very colorful water shoes, we made a slight judgment. We made an assumption. We have a perception, and it's based upon our experiences, and it's based upon our history. And that would happen thousands of times a day. You would make judgments about everybody. But now we add in social media, and it's a focus.
Right. Now people are putting their judgments out there. So then you get oh yeah, you're right. So it is influencing, our thoughts and, unfortunately, our behaviors.
So has social media just upped the ante or increased the frequency and focus of our judgments?
For sure.
And here's where I'm going to get a conversation with Barcetto, because here's another one, right? That is, I bring up the props for the evening just to make the case and situations here in the Spanish community. And I will say, because of my stepfather, right? Usually it's,
Right.
the regular type of what people would like to interpret as a wife beater. But on the island, a lot of people, like my stepfather, would wear a shirt like this, and then his Puerto Rico hat, because it's the way usually on most Spanish islands you end up seeing it. One, because it's ungodly hot, and two, it's been a thing with us for years. But if someone else puts it on and they walk into Walmart or something else, i.e., they call, well, yeah, boy, we know what this guy's doing. He's got his wife beater on today, so he must be up to no good. But at Barcetto, knowing that from within our own community, right? Because everybody, again, even if you put it on the Spanish social media, everybody looks at things completely different. And if you and I were in Philly and we walked around something like that, it's either the judgment calls, unless we're up in North Philly, and then people, again, it's accepted. Once you walk out of a certain zone, then it completely becomes a different story. So when it comes to social media, how much do you think as well that what we put on and how we carry ourselves transpires to what we put out there socially, and when then people see us visually?
Is that task?
For Ed.
Okay.
I can't see Ed.
We can't hear Ed either.
Do wear, but that's a good point.
Yeah. Well, it's and my fault there, as I should have transitioned you over. I could see you and hear you, so I wanted to transition you over. So if you don't mind, if you can repeat it again, because these guys end up bringing a great point. So everybody missed that point you were talking about.
No worries. Pretty much. Listen, that's, as someone else who also grew up in North Philly, like that shirt always had a connotation. Like that was always like, that social demographic, growing up in parts like North Philly, like that was always part of it. But you guys are talking about social media, and it's crazy because I have seen that type of shirt has become more popularized with, the new generations. For me personally, I like wearing it because it's refreshing, especially on these hot days here in the Northeast of America. and it's kind of comfortable to wear around the house. I usually wear it as an undershirt, but it is true what you say. It was always had that perception, but from my point of view, like now, it has become more socially acceptable by the kids in my generation.
So,
That is awesome. And I've got a question for you. It's good to meet you. It's
Hi.
our first time seeing you. So do you think about when you put it on and maybe you're going to go out or you're even going to do a piece of social media yourself and you put it on, do you think about it differently because you already understand that there's perceptions out there? Does that play in your mind?
So for me personally, I very comfortable in my own skin. I don't really go out thinking about what he or she's going to say or think about me. I always let my character kind of, explain kind of who I am. But I do understand that, there might be, like, if I were to go to the supermarket with just that shirt and some basketball shorts and maybe some slides, I do understand that there are going to be some sort of judgment towards that. But for me personally, like, it's just me being comfortable in my own skin. And I think that that's just important. As long for me, it's always been about the way you carry yourself. It goes a long way. But I do understand what people might say behind your back.
So what I think you just demonstrated was something that, I think we all kind of hope, and maybe we haven't talked about it enough yet, that would be adopted by just about absolutely everybody. Still make your judgment, but understand what that judgment is. And like Ed, you're very comfortable in your own skin. You want your character to actually be what people engage with and what they remember and what they recognize for you.
And you're showing up authentically with yourself,
Exactly.
whether you're online or offline.
Yeah, that's kind of where we want to get to. But I also think that we may have had that wish even prior to social media. Social media is just giving us this opportunity, especially like, with Angel's demonstrations of the different, pieces of clothing,
Right.
that, hey, this is something that is making a statement to some people, not everybody, and not every statement.
Right. But making a statement is wonderful. And I'm all for everyone always, expressing your authentic self. It's as difficult as that is online and offline. And it's really important for each person to manage their own judgments and realize whatever you're judging online, whether it's Angel's USA flag shirt or the wife beater, and I'm actually wearing one right now. I'm wearing my black wife beater, one of my favorite shirts.
All of hers are black, by the way.
All of mine are black,
All of
but the judgments, they're inside of us, right? They're inside of us. They are tied to a belief. They're tied to something we learned, right? And are they true? Maybe we need to question them first before, projecting them on, who we see and what we see in person or on social media.
Because they are sliced judgments. They are one story.
Right. And they're simply stories that we're telling ourselves. And it's sad because I do see on social media, there's this whole thing, viral contagion, right? And I'll go back to the flag shirt, now there's like a snap judgment. Oh, that means, this about that person. And that's definitely maybe not true.
Right.
It's definitely something we should, check ourselves before we wreck ourselves.
Well, yeah.
No,
Right.
it's a lot of good points that we end up making here because it does. It's so many different. This one is particularly tonight with social media. It's so many different ways you can translate it because everybody translates the world in their own views, in their own ways. Just like we go to a country somewhere and we don't understand the language, but it doesn't matter if you don't understand the language. It's about the appearance. So no matter if you speak, whether it's Japanese, whether it's Korean, whether it's Russian, no matter where you go, it doesn't matter because you look at the perception of a person like, so where do you come from? And so it just adds to it. And I wonder what their social media will look like, if I knew who they were, because Lord knows pretty soon we'll probably walk around with barcodes just to tell people exactly who we are and where you can find us and stuff. But, it's interesting to me how all this stuff gets put together. And then you have some people that live what I call almost like a transparent life because they may present themselves in social media in one form or fashion, but in reality, in the real life, they're not even anything remotely like what they are in social media. And we had mentioned this a couple of shows ago when we talked about it, that you might come across somebody and you may have met them on the street and, very intellectual, held a great conversation, talked to you about world events and everything else. But then they tell you, oh, by the way, do you follow me on social media? No, I'm at so-and-so, you can find me there. And then you look at the social media, I'm like, wait, was that the same person I was just talking to? I mean, what two different lifestyles are we leading here? So yes, we can hide. All of us can hide behind social media. It's easy. The same way, like everyone, as you talked about, Jesse, is that if people don't get that immediate like, they can put something out there like, I went to the store. Okay, you get a like. But if I went to the store half dressed, now all of a sudden it becomes a major conversation starter, right? So the choice of words you put in there, and then whether you're socially accepted or not. Now, on the flip side to that would be, because Ed Parcetto, for those who don't know, he took a night off from reporting for the Philadelphia Union, our beloved soccer team in Philadelphia in the MLS, which he'll be reporting on it come tomorrow and Thursday as they got games coming up, and the Union doing the best that they've had since the inception of the team, and it's been incredible, and we'll get into that into another show because they've been doing a lot of great things, but it's the same way. Does then someone say, Ed Parcetto, so he's Spanish, and Spanish loves soccer? Well, you can say that if you want to, right? But again, because it's on social media, coincidentally, he just happens to be Spanish who happens to love the Philadelphia Union. The same way with me. I love my Eagles, but do people say, well, I don't know, do Spanish people love NFL? I mean, I don't get it. But if you talk about football, it's almost the same balance as Europeans, right? European football, everybody loves it. Manchester United, I mean, you have your favorite teams. And the same thing, people say, oh, wait a minute, you're a hooligan. You like Manchester United. But on my social media, though, I say I like, that team from Spain. I forget, you don't even know the name of it. So you automatically get categorized because you're trying to express yourself in many different ways. So using kind of that theory a little bit, if let's just say Ed Parcetto had a coffee shop, right? And it's called El Café from Spain. And it's the finest coffee that you can have. And Parcetto tells me, you know what, Angel, you need to come down for an interview. I like the interaction that we have. Why don't you come down? It's a small business. And I tell Parcetto, I love small business. As everybody knows, here on Broad Street South, I do absolutely love small businesses. And I try to work with them, as much as I can. But on the flip side, Parcetto tells me, all right, you know what? How about we meet tomorrow at 1:00? And I agree. So now I know that he owns a small business. But I forget, and I'm in my car, and I was just sweating, profusely because I was doing something else. And the only shirt that I had was this one here. It's a big corporation. So how do I walk into a coffee shop that I told him I love small business, but this is the only thing I had left in my car? And then he looks at me like, wait, you told me you love small business, but why are you wearing a big corporation shirt? So, which also applies the same way to social media when you tend to look at it. Because now I'm going and he's putting all these great posts about his coffee shop, how lovely the people are. His staff is absolutely fantastic. It's a mixed culture and everything else. So if you love small business, come support me. Here I come like a big ding-a-ling with Walmart across my shirt. So it's all part of it.
Well, you make a really great point. You walk into his coffee shop and with his beautiful coffee, and you're wearing the corporation shirt. But the key to what you had said is Ed turns around, hey, Ding-a-ling, what's with the Walmart shirt, bro? Like, that's conversation, right? That's communication. So you could say, oh, wow, well, you know what? I was on my way here. My air conditioning in my car wasn't working. I was sweating to death, and then it started raining. You know what I was going to say?
I do. Very well done.
I was raining, my shirt, blah, 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 and this is the only thing I found in my trunk. Like, that's a conversation. And that's connective. And that's what we're missing a little bit in social media. I mean, we're more connected than ever, but we're not connecting, right? Someone sees you on social media after proclaiming you're a small business lover, you're wearing the Walmart shirt, all of a sudden you're on blast for lying, for being inauthentic, for, misleading, without any type of conversation, which can happen. So if we start using social media more consciously, like you see your favorite best friend wearing a Walmart shirt. Hey, dude, why I thought you didn't like Walmart. let's have a conversation about it. Let me understand. But you don't get that a lot in social media. What you get is block, delete. Oh, they wore that toxic corporation shirt, so now they're toxic. So now I have to unfriend them forever.
Yeah, what Gina just literally highlighted was what we were talking about earlier. You walked into Ed's coffee shop and he told himself a story, but then he said something, created the connection, and you were able to add that second story. There may have been many pieces, many chapters to that second story, and now Ed's got a whole bunch. And you didn't buy that shirt for the corporate logo. You certainly didn't wash it the times that you did, nor wear it the times that you did to, politically make a statement about your feelings about Walmart. In fact, none of the elements of Ed's story in his mind about, you wearing that shirt are true in any way, shape, or form, but they would be without that comment, without that question, without that attempt for connection.
Yeah, the connection.
Even if it's driven, by a little bit of anger or a little bit of irritation,
Right.
that opens up that door.
Right.
Interesting.
Right.
Now, as I always say, in my personal life, like I always try to look at the positive things. If you were to show up for an interview with that shirt on, I think for myself, like it would be a conversation starter.
Mhm.
Because for myself, like I'm looking for certain things as an employee. And I think that having that Walmart shirt can bring up a certain conversation. So with the shirt, how did that happen? What your feelings for that and different things, and that can create different avenues as well. I think it could present a pretty interesting situation as well.
Oh, it would. Absolutely.
Right. I mean, we always have the choice of whether we're stepping into conflict or connection. For me, it just feels better to always choose connection.
And I think that's
Really?
what Ed was
And that's
saying
what
by
Ed was saying,
saying,
yeah.
looking at things in a positive light is literally stepping in for connection. It's not about, looking to make that personal offense or to
Right.
see betrayal or to see disrespect. And unfortunately, that is when you have the one-sided story of social media.
And I do see that a lot. I mean, social media can be wonderful. I mean, it connects people all around the world. We meet people we may never had in our life, right?
Oh, yeah.
But it also, negativity goes viral faster than you can say Snapdragon, right?
Absolutely.
Judgment and negativity are right there. So that's why I say we are connected, but we're not connecting. We're just not using it consciously. And that's not social media's fault. Like that onus is on us individually, I think. Well,
Absolutely.
I know.
And we even have a bit of a personal story, which has really turned into more life calling story. A number of years ago, we've talked a lot about how it started. Well, it started because of social media. We watched an interview show on YouTube one day. And in the interview show, the interviewer was interviewing somebody who we became incredibly interested in. So we looked up on social media that interviewee or the interviewee, and did a little bit of, I guess, what was research, although not intended to be. Saw that this person had not only a YouTube channel, but they had a web page, or they had maybe an Instagram, and we checked those out. When we're checking those out, we saw that they were talking to someone else who we became interested in, and it just kind of blossomed. That would be, even though it wasn't necessarily our intent to jump from subject to subject, person to person, that's the beauty of it. But it is a great use of social media and all platforms.
Right. And if we started using it more intentionally, right? I think a lot of us use it default, where we're just scrolling.
Right.
We're scrolling and we're almost, doom scrolling. It's a thing because it's really popular. People actually doom scroll to look for, the not so good stuff that's going on in the world.
Things that they can react to.
Friends are fighting with friends, get the popcorn. We have two people having an argument at 2 a.m.
Or they're just looking for the example of the guy sitting in front of a camera who's got 2 different teams he's wearing.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Now they've got a platform to kind of express their discontent.
Exactly. And it becomes, a bit of a show, and not a very positive one.
No.
Social media has always become like an escape for people. Like you just said, like just aimlessly scrolling up and down TikTok or Twitter, what it may be, just looking at a different world. what I've noticed as well is, people like with the ability of TikTok being so viral, right? People just want to put it up there and see their video get thousands of views and hundreds of likes. And what I've noticed is like, I'll have people come up to me asking for advice as a sports content creator, and I'll give them the advice. They'll start putting some content up, and then they just stop all of a sudden for a week. And what it is like they're just looking for that high, there's likes, and the likes and the views have certainly become some sort of a high for certain people. And they just go every now and then and look for that, and they just stop posting as well. And it just really has become like a different outlet for people to escape from everyday life.
Right.
Absolutely. And then while they're escaping, meanwhile, what's going on in their brain? They're comparing, right?
Yeah.
They're
Contrasting.
They're contrasting. They're comparing. They're all there's inadequacies are bubbling to the surface. Well, why did this person get 47 likes on this cat video and I can't get the 47 million likes on mine? Like, what's wrong with me? Am I not enough? Right. And it's just not a healthy obsession. Like I said, when you use social media consciously, it can be amazing when you're putting out content, not for the likes, but because of your I like myself first, so I'm going to put this content out. Right. Or you're following the people that are inspiring you, or interesting you, or if you're learning about subjects you never thought you'd learn about. I mean, that's conscious using the doom scrolling and the negativity, not so advantageous to our psyche.
They're like Ed was saying, it's a short-term dopamine hit.
It is
trying to address a long-term loneliness, lack of connection.
Mm-hmm.
It's sad, but there's great positive elements to it as well. I mean, like I had mentioned with our story, getting to know people that have inspired us and have taught us quite a bit, as well as there's a lot of weird little off turns from social media. Like I've started to notice on Instagram where there's a lot of these dual pics being posted of, well, here I am on social media, but here's an unretouched, wearing normal clothes, not worried about the angle of the picture shot of me, and see, this is internet life versus this is real life. That seems to be a bit of an offshoot. The Gary V's of the world who are looking to, every post that they put up, it's about adding value. It's about giving away free value versus seeking to get those.
It's me.
Exactly.
Getting the likes or the validation for whatever.
Right. So I definitely think that there's some bright sides. Obviously, that's not necessarily the focus of this conversation.
Right. But it's good to point out that there are bright sides, because if we can consciously select and be intentional about these bright sides, then the darker sides, they may just not have any more use in social media.
Right.
No, that's right. And in case you guys are just joining us, as Dylan did, let him maybe bring back his comments. He says, "Hey guys," and Dylan, of course, on with us last week.
Dylan.
So, and if you guys are just joining us, of course, we have Jania and Jesse, our life coaches from raindancelife.com. Don't forget that always you guys can reach out to them. If you go through BroadStreetSouth.com, click on their picture there, and it will take you over to and under the sponsors and partners, so you guys can see where you can click on, make an appointment, and you can talk to them about anything. And understand, as I say this every single week, it's not parcero, let me ask you a question. Are you okay with your life? And do you need a couple of Quaaludes and some happy pills to make you feel better? Or do you get someone who actually speaks to you and you speak to them and they actually listen and interact? That's a big difference. And that's why we want you to go to raindancelife.com, because that's what you get. The same thing you get here is the same conversation you're going to get away from what we end up doing this evening. So that is critically important. And Dylan, I'll get you to your question here in a moment. But as we talked about social media, right? For myself, for example, on Twitter, I've been around for 10 years. Granted, the show's been around now for 3 years, at least the Broad Street South Network. And in those 10 years, I have 500 people that follow me, or like 510 or something like that. I think I follow like 520 people. Now, do I get upset because I tend to follow more people that follow me? Of course not, because I'm being who I am. I don't have to do, some outlandish or something else on social media to be like, oh, I was the first one to discover like some rock on some other planet. Oh, no, you didn't. But as long as I get an interesting topic, right? All these people want to follow me. I got 14,000 followers and 10,000 of them could be bots for all I know. In the same way on YouTube. On YouTube, we've created this channel. 3 years later, we just hit 101 subscribers. No matter how many times you talk about it. Hey, you guys, if you like the show, subscribe. But because why? Because I'm nobody. I am somebody to myself and to my friends and family, but to other people because I may not have the ultra model looks. I may not have the voice that carries me like other teams, or have the most super intellectual conversation or political conversation. So I'm just me. And so what I expect is exactly what I see. And if I help people along the way and they say, okay, well, you know what? I am going to give you a follow. Great. But I'm not out there to say that, oh my God, if I don't get that follower today, I don't know if I can live life anymore. I just don't. Because it's going to happen naturally and organically one way or the other. So for someone like myself, I don't harp on those things, even though I might share a lot of things. I definitely share friends of mine, their shows that they have on radio and on TV. And I try to keep up with everybody else to kind of give them that love and support as much as I possibly can. And in between time, I try to do our things for our show to make it a little bit better. So, if I pick up one extra follower, great. And I hope that I'm actually leading you in the right direction versus just following me because I'm a trendsetter. I don't want to be a trendsetter. I want to be who I am. And people see me exactly for who I am. Because as I said to the guys before, and Barcelo, you haven't been here for a couple of shows when it comes to this one, I always forewarn people that, hey, here's what's coming. And if you keep pushing a certain button, I've warned you multiple times, and whatever comes next comes out. So if that puts me at a viral situation, like, oh my God, I can't believe you said that, then so be it. But it's because I've already explained that here's how I work, here's how I operate, and either you accept it or not. You don't have to. No one has to accept one another. But when it comes to social acceptance from the media, it's just funny because you can have, and it's been seen many times, you can have in a male and female. I don't want people to be like, oh my God, you're just talking about one person. You can have a male and a female with looks that are not the best. They're not the perfect 10. They may not have the perfect mannerisms, but they have a hidden talent that you never know until you happen to hear them or see them. But before, you were thinking like, I'm not going to follow them on social media. What for? I mean, look what they're putting together. 10 seconds later into that video, all of a sudden she belts out a tune with the highest pitch you've ever heard. Like, oh my God, I didn't see that coming. Right? So then that becomes a whole different social aspect when it comes to social following. And then when you tell your friends, no, listen, you got to watch her. You got to watch her. And this guy does some crazy trick. You just hang on. They may not look like the best people, but hang on. And a lot of times your friends will be like, yeah, whatever, dude. It must have been a desperate hour for you to watch this stuff. No, it's because you don't know, because it's the judgment that we've talked about before that we throw in front before we see the content behind it. So yes, social media can be a positive manner that you can do things to bring a message across, right? And at the same time too, we know the political side of the world brings it way down, because if you don't go with one side or the other, then it's like, I don't know if I really like you too much anymore. So that's just a crazy dynamic that we have with this social media age, that we all try to see people in a different light, but sometimes in our own minds, we get caught up with different things. So I'm going to let you guys kind of divulge your answers into that one. And then Dylan, I'll get to your question here.
All right. Did you want to start on that one?
Yeah. So just real quick, and I'll make this really quick. If I guess I would want the opportunity, to answer that question, be able to ask this one question to every single person who posts. And so obviously we've got Angel here, we've got Ed here. You guys both put content onto social media, and that might be in the way of broadcasting. It might be in the way of, taking a picture of, your breakfast, whatever it is. But the question that I would want to pose is,
to everybody that posts,
right,
everybody in the world,
why do you post? So Angel, why do you post? And, include the broadcasting, including all the different forms that you do. Why do you post?
So for me, the answer for me is simple, because I like to share a part of my life with everyone. So for me, it's a part of me and who I am. Just like if anybody sees my Facebook page, right, with me and my producer, my lovely lady, anytime we go somewhere, I put it out there because I want people to enjoy what we see and the things that we come across. And so that's why I do it. And like if I try to do it for numbers, I would drive myself nuts because I would have to go with all the crazy algorithms that YouTube and Facebook and Instagram and Twitter want you to do. I would literally be making about 10 to 20 posts a day. And I can almost guarantee myself, even if I put 20 posts a day, it doesn't matter because even if I put that one equals the other 19, which will be either people liked it or the 19 times I just wasted my time. We're not going to be doing other things. So I do it because I just want people to see what we love to do, which is obviously this broadcast, the same way when I broadcast basketball games. So it's bringing people into a piece of my world that I share with everyone.
Absolutely. And I think we probably could have guessed that, right?
So, and why do you post?
Literally to have an effect, to challenge people, to give, what's on the inside that if nothing else, I want some feedback for. So while I don't want the numbers, I absolutely love the potential for the feedback. Ed, why do you post?
I agree with what both of you guys said. For myself personally, I strictly only post about like sports. I might do like something in my life on Instagram. I typically turn Instagram into like my personal life because like Angel said, I do like my life. And there are people who have followed my sports content that I really do appreciate. And as I always say, it's like they're part of the family now. Like we are all Philly sports fans and you guys hang out. They hang out with me every night after every game, so they're part of my family. So I want to bring them in a little bit into my life. But for me, I got into Philly sports content. I wasn't going to do anything else. It's because I'm passionate about it. It's something I grew up with. It's always been in my life. And watching just kind of how sports media has been, I wanted to put my imprint in it. I'm passionate, like I said. I wanted to put my imprint into it. And I've just been continuing going at it as I have over the past 3 years. And it's because I want to be a difference maker. As Angel knows as well, I'm a Latino, very proud of being Latino. And I do believe that representation for our community is important. Angel can tell you there's not too many Latinos in Philly sports. And to me, that's very important. And that's one thing that actually does drive me. There's a lot of sports and I do understand that there's people who appreciate the content and, part of me is like, I want to give that to them because they enjoy it and they should have someone who is Latino. They should have someone to look up to as a young, 20-year-old Latino in America. So I think to me, that's very important. Representation, just going for whatever you're passionate about. I mean, passion to me is the only energy that you really need. You don't need caffeine. It's really, for me, that's what it's all about. But it's really, for me, it's all the above.
All I heard was passion.
Passion.
I mean, you said a lot of great points, and there was definitely some diversity, but at the center of that Venn diagram,
passion. His intrinsic passion for what he does, and then the extrinsic passion of representation. Absolutely. I love that, and where the two roads meet. That's beautiful.
So, Miss Silva, why do you post?
Well, let me tell you.
Sorry, guys. I opened up that can of worms.
No, I have this big audacious goal that I want to positively impact 1 billion people while I'm here, all my time on the planet. And so I post both personally and professionally towards that goal. And not only do I post towards that goal, but every interaction I have personally and in person with people, that's my why as well. So that's sort of my North Star in my intention in all things that I do, how I'm showing up in person or online. I just want to positively impact over 1 billion people. That's my passion. So, I'll post on our personal page, fun things that I might inspire someone. And of course I do it on our business pages as well. And I do that with everything that I do. That's
3 beautiful answers. Absolutely. And so then the question just has to go out to everybody else, especially the people that are listening to this. If you post, why do you post?
No, listen, and it's all great points. Sure, like our parcero said, because for us, yes, because we're all of us, including obviously you guys as well. It's with content creation, it makes it extremely hard because you have like the Kevin Hart's of the world, and he's worked really hard from where he came from to where he is now. Why? Because he believed in himself and he pushed himself and he just kept sharing with everybody what he loved, which is comedy. And coming from the neighborhood where he came from, everybody has to do what they need to do in order to make it, to be put up there. And for us, it's taken a while. You know, with Broad Street South, yeah, I love to share a lot of stuff, you know, and to redesign the web page. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I want, when people come and they say, you know, this isn't a basement type show. These guys actually care about what they do, and it shows in their professionalism, whether it's on the website, whether in the social media. I try not to get too much involved with politics, but if I do, I end up blowing my own self up. But with everything else, like with Twitter, 90% of that is sharing my friend's stuff and definitely things when it comes to our show. When it comes to Instagram, it's about just most of the time show related. But when it comes to Facebook, for me on my personal page, that's where my producer and I can end up shining, because again, if it's a beach, if it's a kayak, whatever it case be, so people get to see the full realm of why I work hard, but I play hard at the same exact time. So, and it makes it fun. And if someone's got to remind me, as we talk about here, that I just momentarily mentioned on the site, because we talk about a spiritual type life show that we do now with you guys, there's a different spirit that's been welcomed to the website. So someone just remind me before you end the show, but I want to make sure I get Dylan's question in here, because you've been waiting patiently for me to ask it here. But he says, hey guys, question. We have seen celebrities who have been accused or have been negatively put into a bad spotlight. With that being said, in general, how does someone become socially aware when or what to post on social media? That's a great question.
I love that question. And I think it goes back to Jesse's question. Why do you post? And maybe it goes back, like, not just, you know, professionally for content creators, but individually, personally. Why am I feeling compelled to post this? Right? Why, you know, what benefit is it to me to post this? Why am I doing this? Right? Am I doing this to you know, enlist the army of haters against this celebrity I don't like anymore, my ex-celebrity boyfriend? Do I want the world to hate him? Or do, you know, like, where's, you know, what's the intention behind it? You know, we have to get our own houses straight first, you know, before we, you know, put them out online. I mean, and there's so many different reasons people post. People do post to, you know, get the army aligned, right, or to malign somebody, or that's, you know, I was saying before that negativity can be a viral contagion.
But I think that if you know, if we look, if we can teach ourselves, right, become aware and train, practice looking at every single post that we see out there, and whether this is, you know, a video, whether it's a meme specific as far as, you know, just words on a screen, or, you know, it's literally somebody taking a picture of their breakfast. We have to train ourselves to remember that is a slice. And so whether you're talking about a major story in the news that was all over social media recently that involved obviously the very heinous breakup of a celebrity couple, that's still just a slice. It is one story, one perspective. And so if you're considering posting, you know, having that in your mind, what single story am I thinking about putting out there?
Right.
And am I okay with that? Am I willing to, you know, suffer the repercussions of the wrong interpretation of it? You know, all of that, I think, you know, is a positive towards moving you down the right road, because, you know, if you're about to post and the only answer you can come up with as to why I'm posting ends up being Ed's answer, or it ends up being Angel's answer, or your answer, passion, there's your answer. Go for it. Do it.
Exactly. Passion, you know, a little kindness would be nice, but, you know, and it's, you know, when we get into the celebrity realm, you know, they're human beings, just like, you know, the rest of us at the end of the day.
Right, they are.
You know, they all love something. They all are afraid of something, and they've all lost something. You know, and when we see these viral things happening in celebrity breakups, we have to remember they're also doing the best they can with the tools that they have. You know, and the tool that they have might just be trying to, you know, you blow their ex up in the media. That's the tool they're choosing to use, because of whatever's going on inside of them. But we have to remember that they're human and they are doing the best they can, and they're not asking themselves, how does this post serve me, right? They're just thinking of their celebrity status and their likes. And, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how many likes that you get on your TikTok or your Instagram. If you don't like yourself first, you're always going to be chasing that, and that's sad.
That's rule number one right
That's
there.
rule number one. You got to like yourself first.
You do.
Yeah.
And
Got
you
it.
do. But, no, go ahead, Bartolo.
No, I mean, I was just going to add to that, to what you said, that was so true. Why do you post? And for myself, don't change for social media either. Like, if you have a belief, in my honest opinion, I do believe that you should stick with that. Now, obviously, in my niche that I kind of do, obviously, don't worry too much about celebrities. But I think the last incident, and I'm sure Angel, you're aware of it as well, or an athlete got put out in a big spotlight was the Deshaun Watson trial, and there was obviously split between a lot of the football fans, how they felt defending him and not defending him, essentially going to the opposition. And so I think that you still have to be true to yourself. Like, for me personally, did not want that anywhere near my football team. For me, I've always, that's one thing I've always been true to myself, is that I do believe in basic human rights, and I don't agree with, just saying that, the women are just liars without not even knowing the facts or the trial or anything about it. So I think you always have to stick true to yourself. Don't just, as a kid, say clout chase because you just want the approval of everybody. But it is definitely tough. It is definitely tough. And, for a lot of these celebrities, a lot of them are, on the pinnacle. And so they don't look or don't want to be socially aware, essentially. So it can be really tricky for them.
And it's, something that's good to remember, in life and on social media, you don't have to accept every invite to every argument you see, right?
Yeah.
You can mindfully step out of celebrity drama, right? Or this and that. At the end of the day, you're right. Staying true to yourself, right? But staying true to yourself does not have to mean hating on your neighbor.
Yeah.
True.
Don't just sleep on over anything like this, pretty much.
Yeah. Well, it's the same way, as the stars always say, we're just like you guys, sure. I'm pretty sure you go to Publix or you go to Acme or you go somewhere else where you shop around just like the rest of us. Yeah, I believe it. Sure. Why not? But it is funny because they put themselves in that situation. Like you hear a lot of the stars say, oh my God, I can't stand the paparazzi. But you've allowed it to happen because why? You want to become socially popular. So if you put yourself out there, guess what's going to happen? You're going to attract the attention. So it's funny to me how they, it's always a tale of two tales. When COVID hit, I'm pretty sure a lot of these people that were almost on that cusp, like, oh my God, I can't take this anymore. And then COVID hit, and now the paparazzi are like, well, we can't go to their house anymore. So we have no idea what's going on. And then post COVID, it's not like it was before. So a lot of these people have been able to gather themselves up, check themselves in a new light and say, you know what? I think I was spiraling fast and not even realize it. So a lot of them have changed up the way they do things. And some other ones couldn't wait until after COVID, because even during COVID, they were just doing things because they wanted more and more attention. So how much is enough? It's up to the individual. But Barcelo's right too, the way he talked about it, that, if you keep putting yourself into that light, you may want to be careful, because that sometimes, as we always say, the light at the end of the tunnel, if it's something where you've come from a bad place and the light at the end of the tunnel is going to be bigger and bright, sometimes people they do the polar opposite. They got that bright light where everything is good, and now they're going to that darkness into the tunnel because they put themselves in that type of situation. So it can be, talked about in different ways here. So the one thing I do want to remind myself, because if not, I will forget, as we mentioned last week here on the show, we've reconstructed a website to make it more user-friendly and easier to navigate. So as we talked about the blessings that I've had One with my producer, which I tell her every single day. Then with Ginny and Jesse coming on with us. Ed Barcetta, who I reached out to a while back. And it's when you're trying to get schedules together, it's a little bit tough. So I want to be sure that this isn't his last appearance, whether it be in here or on our sports show, because I've been dying to get together with him here for a while. But when you talk about life and blessings and things that sometimes you hope that happens and you I guess pray for it as well, because sometimes you have to use the term lightly, because depending on everyone's situation here. And I want to see if I can bring up the share screen. Here it is. So there's an announcement that I'm going to make tonight, the same way I'm going to make it tomorrow on our sports show. But I've been very fortunate. I was going to add this here to the pro scene, so I'm going to switch this over. You guys remember we ended up launching this last week, and on our page last week, we showed, of course, you have us, Broad Street South, of course, coaching sessions, and then Jimmy from On the Road to Victory ended up joining us. Well, I have the blessing for one gentleman today named Rob Motti, and yes, now you can find Faith on the Field at BroadStreetSouth.com. So if you guys end up going over to right where and I missed it. Did I miss the part here? Nope, featured episodes. Maybe I'm missing out on it. It ended up coming out, but anyways, if you guys end up, there should be another spot here, and I'll take a look at it. But if you go to Faith on the Field, you end up clicking on it. Obviously, you can see the picture. You can make it bigger. And I'm pretty sure if I end up refreshing the page here, maybe it'll end up coming up. I forgot to do that. There it is. So if I end up going over to Faith on the Field, as you guys can see, you can now click on the picture. It'll take you directly to faithonthefieldshow.com. And on top of that, as you guys can see there, so you never miss another episode by Rob Motti and the hard work that Rob and Remy both do for Faith on the Field. Not only that, but you can also, of course, go to their social media, as we talked about today. Click on their buttons there, and it'll take you out to their social media profile pages. So thank you for Rob for allowing me to do so, which is a great thing. So now you guys can check out Faith in the Field on BroadStreetSouth.com. So wanted to share that with everybody as we talk about different blessings, and that being one of the bigger blessings I could have received today.
That's an amazing.
That is
blessing.
amazing. That's beautiful.
Good job.
Yay, we're growing.
You're trying.
Rob and Jimmy is really awesome. We've worked together before. He's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah. Jimmy's a lot of fun because the energy that guy brings is like second to none, because he's, he can go from the highest highs to lowest low, but he'll give you that whole range the entire show. It's not like he'll start out low and then finish high. It's that same range. It'll take that roller coaster ride with Jimmy, and the content that the guy puts together and the fun that he has. I hope that one day, as I told him when he was on with us 2 weeks ago, that him and Dave Spadaro could be right next to each other, because he has the craziest passion like Dave Spadaro, and he's chasing a dream just like the rest of us here are. And we hope that we get to that point. And if it's teaming up together to try and get to where we all want to be, that's a great situation to be in, because it's the only way you build a team. By what? It's not by an individual, because I can do whatever I feel like. But if I become part of a team, it makes it better, because then we can all socially network together and continue to blossom. So that being said, we'll end the show there. But I did give an assignment to Jesse and Jania before the show started. So can you guys take a guess on what next week's episode is going to be?
Clothing.
I have no idea.
Fashion, clothing.
So, Gina, you're almost there. Right? So if you take all this stuff here and you kind of pile it together, you almost get what? Layers?
Layers.
Oh, layers. Okay.
Right? So we pull off layers with the different type of things that we end up doing. So next week, we will get into layers as we find out from our own selves, how much do we have to pull back and how much do we have to look forward in order for, again, the impressions upon the world. So next week, volume 10 will be all about layers.
Peeling back the layers. I love it.
Beautiful. I'm so
Deep
glad
dive.
I'm so glad that when you held all that up, I didn't say laundry, because that would have been so far off of where you were going.
Layers of laundry.
I love it.
Let's peel
That's
back some layers,
fantastic.
because you know what? We all have lots and lots of layers, and some
I
we
think
don't even
Shrek
know
said
about,
something
right?
about it, but that was the
Yeah.
end.
That was
Right.
But
I can tell that that's where you were going, Ed. I can tell you.
That's right.
Great, Angel. Thank you very much. That's a fantastic segue to next week.
No problem. Well, listen, we'll get the following week. We'll make a contract with Tide, and we'll talk about laundry. So that way we
There
can
you
plug
go.
Tide at the same
Thank
time.
you,
Tide
'cause,
sponsor.
yeah, that's my wheelhouse, man.
Look up that
That's my
sponsorship
wheelhouse.
right now.
Exactly. So we'll get into it some more. But listen, Barcetto, first of all, thank you once again for joining us tonight here. And please let the people know where they can find you on social media.
Absolutely. So you guys find me on Twitter at Barcetto Philly. We're on Instagram at _Barcetto _ Philly. TikTok at Barcetto Philly. YouTube at Barcetto Philly. You guys have a hanker for Philly sports. Please check it out. And thank you to everyone here. I had a lot of fun. I learned myself. I grew a little bit as a person. This was very helpful. Thank you guys.
No, you're
Thanks for
welcome.
joining us, and
Yeah,
come
really
back anytime.
great to meet you.
Yeah, it's great to meet
Well,
you. We'll
No,
be hitting you up
it's-
on the socials consciously and intentionally.
There you go. No, but that's what the show's all about, for us to get to enjoy one another's company and to make ourselves feel good at the end of the day. So, and that being said, it is the end of the day. We thank everyone once again for tuning in from all over the world. Don't forget to please like and subscribe, whether it's to Broadtree South, El Parcero, to Jenny and Jesse at ringdicelife.com. Therefore, we can all share the love the same way and support for one another, because that's the only way we get paid around here, is by you guys just basically subscribing and following us. Because yeah, it takes over 1,000 people to get paid from YouTube, but I'm not worried about that. What I'm worried about is that you guys take a look and see the content that we provide. So with that being said, thank you to my producer over at Studio B, and thank you to LG Direct for making things happen the way they do. And we hope to see everyone here come next week. So with that being said, we'll see you next Monday night.